Yes, sir. Okay, let's get into it. The question is, why is Bitcoin, why is crypto born right now? I think that's something that a lot of people want to know. I have my thesis, right? And there's just a lot of things to kind of think about, but we'll try to kind of, I guess you could say, unpack it in a sense to where we can try to make sense of this stuff, right? So let's kind of look at some charts. You know me, I'm always trying to look at charts. That's kind of my thing, really. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, let's check out Bitcoin. I mean, so we can see if you prescribe to Elliott wave theory, and if you want to kind of slice it right here, this bear market low, 2018, we can kind of see one down to a two, three, complicated four to a five. Now I have a additional Elliott wave count that I've been keeping track of, which we can go through that, but I just want to just talk about just basics first. And so I think the biggest thing of like everybody's like, hey, we're in like a crazy bear market. And yeah, we're on a nice little pullback. I mean, from the top to where we are now, what is that? It's about a 56% pullback for Bitcoin. So, I mean, all the alts, we already know that they've been trampled. But let's kind of look and see some different aspects of how we look at this, right? And so, what I kind of want to look at is what I've been noticing through time, which were these parallel channels. So it's very interesting, and I'll kind of plot some additional ones because, as we can see, this channel here is parallel as well to this downtrend. Matter of fact, let's start off with that. So we kind of zoom in and take a look at this. We can draw somewhat of a parallel channel here. So as you kind of see, we have not broken the top side of this. And so when we do, that'll be a little breath of fresh air. Like, okay, we can kind of start making some progress. But what do you notice? Right. So staying within this range right here, touch point here, here, and then we've just been going sideways and we've been getting rejected, off this parallel channel. But really also we kind of throw some moving averages in here too. Most likely we'll be rejecting off of those as well. So let's see. There's a 100-day, 200-day. Let's go ahead and bring some more stuff on here. Let's go ahead and see if we can find the 21-day EMA because that'll be helpful. Okay. So cool. We'll do the 21-day as well. So 21-day EMA. Gotcha. There we go. And so we're kind of using it as a little bit of support, but we had to really break through it. And all of this stuff trading in this little cluster, it's literally a whole bunch of people just getting liquidated on the long and the short side. Like, this is interesting. Like, I can't remember, especially like within the last year, where we've been in such a tight cluster like this and not really declaring, because we kind of declared to the downside, but then we kind of declared to the upside. And this is like a clear, easy indication of like, hey, things are still going to the downside. This here, obviously, you can see it's like through time it's to the upside, but this here is just like a blob of just nothing really going on, just very boring price action. Same thing with the RSI. Like, the RSI has a little bit more strength than the price action, really. So you look at that. I guess you can say that kind of lines up, but really that bearishness at first was, this is what the last part of May, mid-May to late May. Then here this month, we kind of just shifted up a little bit, but nothing, too sexy going to the upside or the downside. So, but yeah, so let's kind of get back to this whole thing about parallel channels. And so what we've seen through time is how Bitcoin likes to stay within these parallel channels, and then it breaks out in one way, shape, or form. And so as we continue to prescribe, or as I continue to prescribe to LA wave theory as, we're kind of finding that four. Now that four may be in here, or we may take some more time. And so I have a count on the Elliott wave theory for that as well. But if we just kind of look at where we're at, we're under the 200 day, we're under the 100, and we are even below the 21 day EMA. And so obviously that's bear city. Anytime that's happened, it's been very bearish. But same thing, what I kind of wanted to make note of, if we kind of just get this all out the way. So kind of let's do this here. And we'll look at it like this. So what does this from this top here, what does this look like? It looks very much like this. So if you notice, you have that bearish downtrend, a rise up, and then you have a deep, deep, deep correction. This one just happened a lot faster. So same thing, go up, you have a bearish downtrend, a rise up. And I really believe that, there was still a lot of hype in the market, a lot of people taking on debt and adding to their positions to really push the price up for Bitcoin more than it should have been, because we've seen with the RSI was highest here. And then we start to see those liquidations happen, especially on this day in December of last year. But same thing. And then you see this trend down, except for having a straight capitulation. Excuse me. This one is a lot slower. And it's kind of like that, that slow grind, that hurtful grind. It's just like, man, this like, when is this going to end kind of thing. But nonetheless, this is just a carbon copy, but just longer time period than this. So wave 1 to 2. So 3 to 4 is what we call just a little bit more complex. And so one thing to notice as well with these downtrends, yes, there's a deviation coming out of it, but look at how this stuff kind of, plays off of itself. So we kind of want to take the 100-day moving average out of here. We'll keep the 21 day on there. But just look at this parallel channel on the downside, right? So once we've hit a peak, what do we see? It stays within this parallel channel, but then uses as support, then it broke through. Use it as resistance, broke through, use it as resistance one more time, broke through with the deviation, came all the way back down, and then finally, when we start to finally rise up out of here, then we're out of here, right? But you can see how this midline of these channels are very interesting pivot points in how the price action tends to go. And so, but here's the thing as well. So if we kind of just move this one out the way for now, let's just look at the beginning of this cycle. So since beginning of 2019 or late 2018, you can kind of see this larger parallel channel that we've been in this entire time, and we have not broken this structure at all. And so as you can see, so we come out of this bear market, same thing, touch point here, we come down, break the midline, we slightly break it, but it's really support, come down to the bottom of the channel. Same thing here. You see how it was tough for us to break through that little cluster of price action, came down, but then we broke through it, came to the peak here, especially with the peak of RSI, the strength. A lot of people taking profits up here, because if you're investing here when the RSI was low and a lot of these other metrics that we look at, you would have been in hefty profits. So, I myself had a lot of profits at this point, took some profits. And then what you see is just a cascade effect of the asset losing strength. And so that means liquidations and all of that kind of stuff too. But what do we notice? This midline, once again, has provided support. And so in the future, what I'm going to look for is like, okay, when are we above this midline on the upside? Because that's going to tell me a lot as far as how bullish are we and can we consistently stay bullish. And so these parallel channels are very interesting. And then, like we said, this is kind of like that fake out. A lot of people still believing that we're going to 100K at the time, and just things just rolled over. And nonetheless, you can see it struggled at the midline. So you see how it got here, whipped below it, and price action kind of moved alongside of it. And then we finally broke it, then use it as resistance because we tried to get back above it, but then we just broke shape. And then we start the downtrend. But nonetheless, even with the whole Luna debacle, we wigged down to the bottom of this channel. As you can see, these touch points line up exactly parallel. Here, and the tops here. So the wave 1 and the wave 3. And so I'm not going to say that, we've got a bottom in, right? Because there is room for deviation, of course. But it's just interesting to see things from this perspective, which I don't know if a lot of people are kind of understanding and seeing the price action in this way. And so if you kind of zoom into where we're at now, what are we looking at? And so same thing in this downtrend, like what I would want to see is, first of all, okay, we got the first check, we got above the 20-day EMA, which is good. The next thing is like, okay, can we finally, because you see how we kind of wick above this downtrend and this median line, can we finally get above it and then maybe use that support? And then the next question is, can we break this downtrend completely? And so through time, right, we want to see as this downtrend and this parallel channel, and we see the intersection with the larger parallel channel, we have a decision to make here, especially within the next few months. So June and July, as far as what is going to break first. And so, yeah, I mean, we obviously would throw this out the trash if this kind of deviates and we pop down to 22K and stuff like that. I don't think this channel would stay relevant. But until then, it's relevant. And so, this is going to be a part of my count, especially moving forward. But what I would want to look for, especially, is to see if we could essentially break this midline. And then, so let's just call it, okay, we go back to the most recent high. So we put a price call there at 32K. And then also, if we could kind of break this downtrend that we've been in this channel, and then so with time, right, it'll probably be easier to do so with time, especially if we get a nice floor at some point. And what we've seen is that we're somewhat kind of getting that, but do not discount a lot of things going on in the macro economy, things happening. So they have on the 14th and 15th, they have the announcement of the interest rates. And so the question is, okay, is that going to produce a lot of bearishness in the stock market and in equities and so stuff like that? So what we're going to see is obviously the correlation is very high for Bitcoin to a lot of the equities, and Bitcoin will be affected if people continue to just go ahead and stay on that bear train and sell off some of their positions because they think things are going to continue to get worse. And we'll see if the Fed is talking hawkish or if they're talking dovish, and if they have any indication if we're going to continue to hike rates at 50 basis points. And so, yeah, this is just one view of kind of just looking at the price action that, a lot of people were just talking about, hey, bear trend, bull trend. But if we kind of dig deep into like the structure, like this is all about looking at structure, how price action moves, we'll tend to see how these channels take shape. And we're not just going to talk about that because, like, same thing, we can look at it even in previous cycles, right? And so this is a larger macro channel. And this is kind of having together a bear market along with a bull market. But same thing, the tops, right? So the top here, which was like an intermediary top, and then deviation out for the real top here in 2013 with the bear market. Same thing, came down, broke through, rolled the top, used the midline kind of as support, broke through, and finally came out. But still, this larger trend stayed intact. And then so we're going to see if this, somewhat of a larger trend stays intact as well. And so we'll find out if that happens over the next month or so. And so really, right, we can kind of dive into some Elliott wave theory as well. And this is kind of like the easy peasy version, but if we kind of dive deeper, we can kind of get an idea of, what some of the count may look like. And so this is the count that I've kind of been keeping through time. So we can take these parallel channels off for now, and we can take that off. And then let's go ahead and look at some of these things here. So cool. So here's a count. You got the longer term count, right? So obviously long term, bullish on Bitcoin. Short term, things are headed to the downside. But let's just take a little bit deeper look at this count here. And so it's pretty interesting because as we go sideways, we're in like a diag. So same thing, we got that parallel channel. We can get that out the way for now. And so really, like, to me, this really I know we were talking about the triangle case. A lot of people are talking about it. I know Charlie at Cultivate Crypto, we spent a lot of time talking about it through the past couple months. And, so we were thinking about like a triangle case, but on the back end of this, it looks like a flat, connected with a diag. So a diagonal to the downside, so a little pennant. And so the interesting thing is, we have a lot of three-wave movements for this downtrend. So, on my minute count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to an A, B, C. Same thing, A, B, C. So 1 down to 2, down to a 3. Now for this 4, so this portion here, we're gonna have to see if this is going to line up, because it's really like my count has been really tough trying to count this chunk. It's been weird to really try to count, because you don't really see a clear indication of kind of how to have your minute count. And so, but with that being said, the way that this is kind of trending, same thing is intact here, is keeping its structure to the downside with this diagonal going downwards. And so what we're going to look to see, especially on, this date here, so the 14th and the 15th, we're going to look to see if we, hey, have a little bit of price action to the upside, especially with equities, and see if Bitcoin tracks with it. But if we have some bearish news or some hawkish news, or maybe they go up on interest rates even more than what we expect for this time period, I have a good feeling that, this support right here can be broken, and we kind of head down to this downside. And now where we end up, that's going to be where buyers say, hey, we see value in price at this certain level. And so, that's kind of the count that I have for now. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. And so I think the biggest thing is to just be patient, guys. Like for me personally, as I continue to, allocate, I'm doing it very tactfully, obviously sticking to, the different time periods that are a little bit more advantageous. So normally if you look at the Elliott or a 60-day cycle, stuff that, Charlie talks about quite often as well, Cultivate Crypto, I've been able to kind of prescribe to that as well, because what we've noticed typically on the back end, so anything past like day like 45, and especially closer to day 60, if the cycle ends up being that long, we do have that low for that intra time period, right? So not so much on like the yearly scale, but within a span of 60 days, give or take, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, price tends to find a low on the back end of that little cycle there. And so if we're even looking at that, we're on day, so this is the low here. Today we're on day 28, almost getting to day 30. So really start to, maybe look at some things towards the end of this month in early July, which, that makes a lot of sense to just be patient and really just staying closer to the larger cap coins. And so if you haven't had your backpacks for whether it may be Ethereum, some of the layer ones that we know are going to be here long term, I would, this is not financial advice. I can't give any financial advice. I can only just talk about, what I'm seeing in the market and just the development that, these layer ones, they just have a lot of staying power versus some of these more speculative investments, right? So yeah, as I continue to just look at this, yeah, structure is continuing bearish. And even if we want to look at, like a 30-minute chart, kind of dive in deep, right, and just look at, price action. So really we can take since the beginning of June per se, we've had a nice amount of support here at the price level of 29 and some change. And so like stuff like this is just liquidation right here. Movements like this, liquidation, and some wells buying as well, but liquidation, right? Liquidation of shorts going to the upside, trending down. And then so really we're just going to look to stay. And an interesting thing is because how this support was kind of holding us up in, late May, it's kind of holding as somewhat of a resistance here in June. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah, we're just ranging, which is very interesting for price action. So we're coming to that crux of decision time for BTC. And so same thing, if we kind of throw on the RSI for the short term, it's kind of sitting right there in the middle. So, maybe in the next couple of days, we kind of hit the top of this RSI, but then, we're going to look to see what happens, like I said, over here on the 14th and the 15th when the Fed does their announcement as far as what they plan on doing. And they give us an idea of what the inflation numbers look like as well. And so, yeah, but the biggest thing is it's like, understanding what is going on and happening with the dollar, right? I think sometimes we just don't really understand what that looks like. I'm going to find a visual here, but let's see here. Got a bookmark, but this is something else here. So the dollar, like I know we use it for all the stuff. And then really is think about it. We have a digital way of using it because we don't really use cash like how we used to do back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and stuff like that. really since 2010 and above, we just been using card, right? MasterCard and Visa. And the biggest thing is, people have to realize that MasterCard and Visa, they're taking a piece of every single transaction. So here in Cryptoland, we know that we can do things peer to peer. And so, smart contracts are an interesting thing. And then so now that we have all these dApps coming out, there's a lot of developers, especially, in 2021, that hopped on a lot of these larger projects. And so you kind of read into that stuff and you can kind of come up with your thesis of saying, okay, well, what's going to last? But what we do know, this dollar, this thing is on a forever downfall to zero. Like the purchasing power is it's shit. I mean, I'm gonna just say it. It's horrible, and that's why inflation is so bad, solely because we keep printing more of this money. And so it's gonna be interesting, right, to see kind of what happens with that. But yeah, that's kind of like that visual representation of why you want to invest and learn how to do it and try to do it well. And so to do that, you have to have just a little bit more knowledge than the average person. But where there is once, there is a way to get there. And so it's really about staying consistent in being a person that's saying, hey, I'm willing to learn things that I don't know and understand and putting in the time until you do. And when you put in that time, you start to see things and understand things in a different way. And you're not going to be like the average consumer who's honestly, a lot of people out here are chickens with their head cut off. They don't see much of what's going on past what time they got to wake up for work. And that's about it. Or how high gas prices are. And so it's a lot more stuff going on than that. I'm not going to get all into that, but, just be aware. So let's kind of dig to a weekly chart. Let's take a look at the PCCs because I think that's something that I do want to catch up on and kind of see how things are looking. Or we'll look at the 200-day moving average for a lot of these stocks. So let's look at that really quickly. Cool. So interesting thing. So we did have a little bit of a rebound. So we'll look at the daily first and we'll look at the weekly chart. So the interesting thing is why this week has kind of been a little crushing is this long red candle right here. But same thing here. If we line this up, right here was when a lot of these stocks were well under. So about 85% of them were under their 200-day moving average, which basically means the stock market is in a bad downtrend, And so, but we had a little bit of a rebound, but what do we see? So, like I said, understand when things are shifting. So when you're on a landscape, the foundation is a little shaky, which it is right now. You got to understand what's really going on underneath the surface. And so using metrics like this can help us get a little bit of a sentiment before we see the price action happen for Bitcoin. But what do we see? This long, and this is like a daily candle, a long daily candle heading back below this metric of 15%. And so we'll see if we make another new low, right? And so that's going to be something to look at. And it's on the RSI, there's room to do that. And so, because you can see how we come below this 30 metric several times, and especially for other lows, right? So for this low, we came well below the RSI. So this was, below the metric, but it wasn't fully convincing. And that's why, yeah, I really see that there is some more room to the downside potentially. And so there's a lot of weight that crypto needs to push off of it in order to get back up here with this metric where majority of the stocks are above their 200-day moving average. So really, in that 85 percentile where they're above. But right now, 85% of them are below. And, really, that's basically meaning, yeah, things are going to most likely continue to trend in that way until we see otherwise with these metrics. Let's take a look at the VIX really quick. We seen any more volatility this week compared to last week? No, not too much. So yeah, so with the VIX, look at the RSI, we're kind of neutral, and then we had that volatility for the stock market, right? So the S&P 500, and it's kind of clustered up here. So nothing crazy, but same thing. We want to see if we could see something a little bit higher on this metric. So like up here in the high volatility zone where we're seeing, up here closer to like 45, 50, somewhere in there, to really solidify like that rush of people being fearful, and we just don't have it quite yet, right? And so this is kind of just regular, especially in this landscape since 2022. Things have just been a little bit more volatile, but not that crazy volatility spike on a random day or week. And so, regularity is not back within any market. We are still seeing things that we haven't seen in a long time. So it's just to say, hey, just take your time. No need to FOMO into prices as of right now. If you haven't lowered your cost basis, if you're buying, for example, if you're buying Ethereum when it was 4,500 bucks and you haven't lowered your cost basis, please do so. Like, grab some at these price levels if you haven't done it already. But if you've been DCAing, especially like the last month, just wait, and we'll have more information come to these markets, especially in the next week, but then really over the next month or two to really see if things really change with the landscape. But if not, then we'll continue to stay on this trend of being bearish, unfortunately. And then, so if you're long term, really this shouldn't affect your mindset too much. But as far as being strategic about what you're doing, it's something that you got to consider about how to play this stuff. Let's see if we can look at the PCC. And for this, we got to turn this metric for price action off and then use a moving average. So not the 21 day, but we need to use the 20-day moving average. And so let's pull it up. We can get rid of these because we don't need these. So yeah, what's helpful to look at this PCC metric is looking at the 20-day EMA. All right, so boom. There we go. Now we're good. Cool. And so as of today, right? So a lot of the people aren't doing puts here. Let's see, and we're kind of coming back down. So same thing. What I'm gonna be looking for is to see, especially how if you can really pay attention, like how vertical this was, but now we're tapering out, and we'll see if this starts to turn around and attack back up towards this white line again. And if we exceed it, that's basically meaning people are betting to the downside in the derivatives market. And so that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But as of right now, it's kind of just this downtrend to that median line, and we'll kind of see what happens. Like I said, over the next week. But yeah, nothing too sexy, right? We want to see this metric. Ultimately, we want to see this get down below this dotted line. That's how you know things are rocking and rolling, right? That means there's a lot of optimism, right? Extreme greed, especially if we start touching this red line here. But yeah, we would at least want to get down to this. Like when things are rocking and rolling, you'll see all these metrics hitting together. So, low volatility, a lot of the stocks in the S&P 500 above their 200-day moving average. And a lot of people are starting to put calls in the market because they're optimistic about price going up. And so you want to put all that information together. But as of right now, I'm not convinced that, things are turned around and things are just going to be bullish from here. It just doesn't show it in the data, unfortunately. But long term, perma bull, right? Crypto is where it's at, and this is where, if you understand enough, you're gonna have some of the best returns that you can get in any asset class because of you choosing to invest the correct way, which is not only investing in the stuff that you think is going to pump for tomorrow, but just investing for the long term, which typically has always worked in a lot of assets, not just crypto. So, and even for crypto, long term is really only like 4 or 5 years, and so that's nothing compared to trying to have like an investment in real estate or, stocks. They say it takes 7 years to double your money typically in the stock market. So, 4 years, 3 years is really not much. So I'm willing to do that time. And I've been doing that time and, I've been happy thus far with my results. And so we keep ascending from here. Okay. So PCC is looking interesting. Let's take a look at, what do I want to look at today? Let's look at Solana because I haven't looked at Solana in a while. So here we go. Can I type today? I can. All right. It's a line chart. Let's put the price action back on. Solana. All right. Let's put this on log, of course. All right. Now we're cooking with grease. I got some stuff plotted out for the long term. This is some time out. Not just a year, but beyond that, but where Solana could very much get to, especially we all know Solana has a lot of backing behind it, not just us investors, but VC money. And VCs, and here's the thing is like you start looking at these different trusts, like Grayscale Trust, and not just their Bitcoin trust, but they have other trusts as well. If you guys haven't looked into it, but they have these other larger cap coins. So this, like Polkadot, I believe they have Cardano in there, but nonetheless, like there's a lot of traditional money, and they see Solana as the one that they, one of the ones that they want to rock with long term. So you see them throwing a lot of capital here. That should tell you something, right? And so we know Solana has a very, very good chance of being here long term. So if we project out years, we can see how that can happen. Reaching $400 and some change, reaching $1,000. Yeah, there was a point where Ethereum was a couple $100. There's a point where Ethereum was only $30. And so now we'll look at the difference between supply and stuff and seeing like what are the possibilities. But yeah, like Solana touching $1,000 is not anything crazy. I think sometimes when people think about prices going up, you just got to understand when the demand comes back, it comes back in waves of just tremendous amount of people in liquidity. And so when liquidity is flowing in the market more, right? Because right now everything is just looking very mundane because of what's going on globally with all these issues. Once some of this stuff starts to get figured out, I don't know when that'll be, whenever it is, that's when, the money flow starts again. And then people start allocating into assets more because when they feel comfortable, they spend money, right? So just people are just uncomfortable right now. But anyways, same thing, clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 201. And then let's try and look at this downtrend. So we do a fib retracement. Where are we at? So yeah, there's some more room. If we throw on the VRPV, let's see here. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of purchasing that happened right here in this cluster. I mean, y'all can see that here. And so, yeah, I mean, where are we at today? $40. And getting back down to that 0.382 fib level is pretty common, right? And so, oh, let me turn that off. All right. One sec. All right, cool. So, yeah, there's a batch of liquidity sitting here. And then obviously resistance will be where this support is here, where this 2 point or 3 point or 2 point, 236. There we go. So, all right, let's kind of see where we could kind of get some new revelation when it comes to looking at Solana. So there we go. So we got a batch liquidity sitting at where we're at now, and we can see that price action here. So, I mean, if we even want to say, what is this? It's a bit of a triangle here. Then we broke out to the upside, as you can see. And so these wicks are really a session, but you want to take the bulk of that price. So if I were to really look at it, like the bulk of the price action up in here, bring that across. And then so, yeah, realistically, we could get cheaper Solana at even more of a distance. And that's the thing about when Bitcoin is, in a downtrend, these alts get smacked, right? And I think sometimes when people are just starting with crypto, they don't realize that, and then they go super, super heavy into only alts. And so it's just one of those things of just, hey, you got to learn to be able to take the volatility, especially if you get in at these higher risk time periods. And so we're like really using the metrics help us out in understanding, okay, our price is overextended. And so, that's the thing about being able to control your emotions and saying, hey, if I need to wait to invest, then do so. But if we just look at the RSI, like all this here, so buying all of this top right here, I mean, yeah, you're going to be in at a higher risk point. And then so really for me, like a good rule of thumb is like anytime that I see that we're below 40 on the RSI is a relatively lower risk time period. But then you look and see how is Bitcoin doing and throw it on the weekly chart. But same thing, we look at this on the weekly and we hit a lower RSI than we've ever had, as far as strength for Solana. And so, I mean, we're almost touching 30 here. So this is getting me to say, okay, we're getting close for me to start backing up that Brinks truck. Like I got a nice allocation to Solana. Nice allocation. I started investing in Solana in early 2021. And so, I was being able to capture these lower prices. But nonetheless, I understand trend. And then so when we get to these, especially we got a nice batch of liquidity here and we're forming a nice amount of support. Yeah, I mean, go ahead and allocate. But especially if you've gotten in higher, understanding, okay, well, this is a coin that could stick around for the long term. Yeah, lower that cost basis here at these lower points, but give yourself some time, be patient. Yeah, so that's the weekly. Let's go back to this daily. So same thing, very boring, not much happening, not much strength here, but there is some divergence. And so same thing, price continue to go lower, but RSI strength heading a little bit higher. So there is some bullish divergence there, which, that also helps you kind of understand that, hey, things are kind of looking, pretty low for price. And so I'm not saying it can't go lower because as we know, with all the stuff going on, it can. So yeah. So, but I was saying this price point here about $32 for me personally. I'll grab some more there at that level there. Me personally, not financial advice, obviously. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the count, trying to see if this is a clear. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to an A, B, and then down to a C, similar to Bitcoin and a lot of these other coins as well. But this is like so crappy to count. Like 1, this will be a small 2. I don't even know if you can divide that into 5. 3, 4. I mean, if this is a truncated 5, I mean, yeah, we would need this to come down for it to look a little bit more accurate for an Elliott wave count. Right now, this is just a jumble of crap here. So yeah, so yeah, I'll keep tabs on Solana, but nonetheless, we want to just make sure that we're being vigilant and yeah, man, just stay patient, stay patient. But to the upside, like why do I have this here? Same thing. We can do a trend based fib extension. So let's go here, and we can take. Let's take from the bottom of wave 2 to the top of wave 3. Kind of see what's next, and let's say the bottom is at $32, some change. Yeah, I mean, all the time we see it get up to this 1.6, no problem. But then also when things are bullish, so whenever that may be, whether it's early 2023 or mid 2023, whenever it may be, I'm willing to wait. Yeah, I mean, touching to the top end of this metric for the trend-based fib extension happens all the time. So, I mean, for example, let's just take that same move from bottom of wave 1 to the top. So we'll go here, bottom, top, bottom. And what do you see? So the crazy thing is that we got to it and then we even broke past it. So, I mean, this stuff it seems like it's magic, but it's just a good way. This is, this algorithm's being able to, show typical price action. So as you see, we came to the top of this metric. See that? Boom, right there, got rejected. We kind of held this 20 EMA as support. So anytime, yeah, we're above this 20 EMA, we're bouncing off of it as support. It's all green, all good. And as you can see, we broke through it. And so same thing here with what I was saying before, getting to, a couple $100 for Solana, not just 250 because that was the top, right? So the top was about like $260. Yeah, but getting to $400 is not anything crazy. So that's a 10x on the table because we're at 40 now. And we might be able to get a little cheaper pricing here if we dip into the 30s and we sustain that for a little bit. And so, yeah, guys, I mean, learn to evaluate crypto subjectively, not with your emotions, and you just see what the data shows you, have a strategy, and then stick it through. And this is the trajectory that we are on. Looks good to me. That is vertical. Like, remember that dollar? That dollar did this. The dollar did this. Shoo. this is going up through time, and this is a younger coin, so more room for growth because I don't think too much of it supplies. I think what like 70% of it supplies out. Let's check CoinGecko. Coin Solana. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, give or take. Yes, about 70% of the supply is out. So yeah, still more room for growth. But yeah, oof, down 84% from 7 months ago. So yeah, I mean, any point to where we get at an 80% discount or more, as we all know, a lot of these coins can go down 90, 95%. So whether you want to call this a bear market or a corrective wave, whatever it is that you want to call it, um, you know, yeah, discount central. So yeah, but the past year, 3% year over year, I think Bitcoin is negative. Like, so that's negative 3%. I think Bitcoin is like worse than that. So if you've held for the last year, Solana, you're doing better. So Bitcoin is negative 10. So this has been a little bit of a better hold than Bitcoin year over year. Just a little bit though. I know Hex. I mean, Hex is still up way higher than it was a year, which is crazy because Hex has been on a crazy downtrend as well. But yeah, longevity is the name of the game. Longevity is the name of the game. What has kind of gone up? Helium. You know what? This is interesting. So I had a buddy of mine. He was telling me, so they have these miners that you can get, and he's telling me, rather, you want to be in an area that has more people, but you can mine this stuff at a interesting rate. But I mean, helium is one of those other ones. They're proving themselves, staying power, right? Chart looks good. Website. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what was the staking reward for this. Yeah, okay, staking. Earning validators must be kept online, up to date to earn rewards, of course. Yeah, it's a whole process. But yeah, getting one of these miners is not easy because when they put them out, only a few come out and everybody's trying to get them. So if you find one, you got something good on your hands. Yeah, interesting. But it's performing pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see. Chapter 2. What is chapter 2? Network of networks. Unlock protocols, capture usage growth. No. Helium powered 5G is amazing. Cellular. Interesting. They're attacking T-Mobile, huh? And Verizon trying to take it over. And that's how the mining actually happens through the waves that we use for our cell phones. So interesting. Netflix and Earn. Come on, stop it. Oh, okay. If you're on, I gotcha. The Helium network. Okay. Interesting. HIP 51 roadmap. Phase 1. Helium 5G hotspots will earn mobile. So I guess that's another coin. Okay. I'll look into that. Helium hotspots will earn IoT. Both mobile and IoT will be redeemable for HNT via the app. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how this stuff pans out. Let's check their Twitter. Five and deep, right? Update for Post Chain. Anyways, Richard. With all the project launching on Post Chain, including PulseX and Pulse, it will be the most complete Layer 1 network to ever launch. All aspects of crypto will be covered, and network activity on launch day will be crazy. Will likely be the biggest network launch in crypto history. Okay. Any other info that's useful? Update. We're working on getting our comprehensive list of post chain projects updated. There are tons we're adding. Once the list is updated, the massive list will be kept. We'll keep the critics of post chain silent for quite some time. So there's a list there. Yeah, let's click on it. Let's see. Okay, post chain coins, NFTs, and projects. For now, stay away from those for a little bit until we see the landscape. Projects, all this stuff. Floki Pulse, no. Liquid loans, solid. What is all this crap? Crazy. Mintra, solid. Sheba Hex Post, wow. Okay. Hedron, okay. Sacrifice Games, Space Launcher, InvestDex. I don't even want to click on any of these because I'm just like, this is, for now, we stay away from all the stuff that we do not know of. Do your own research, exercise caution, of course. But we're going to stay with the bona fide stuff that is attached to Richard and then people of the Hex community, first and foremost. All this other stuff, yeah, just popped up out of nowhere, it seems like. No, thank you. Huh, interesting. Anyways, back to Helium. Anything new? So nothing pinned this month. Last thing was May. Nova Labs. Okay. Oh, got something coming up here in a few days. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Helium Wallet. Okay. New Helium Wallet app. So if you have Helium, I'm assuming their native app would probably be one of the best places you can store it, but got to verify first. Okay. Helium Vote. So some governance stuff. Okay, yeah. So that seems to be the newest thing. The passing of HIP 51, which we read on their site. Okay, so that just got passed. Nothing too exciting. Okay. But nonetheless, price up 11% today, which is better than a lot of other stuff. And Helium's in, top 100. Let's see. HNT, number 53 today. What's the market cap? So circulating supply, about half of it is out, a little less than half. So room for growth, $11. And it's up from 2 years ago. So it's been here for a little second. Progressive growth. Last 2 weeks. So interesting. So this is looking like it has hit a bottom. Yeah, let's go look at that chart. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Let's see. 7-day low, $8. 7-day high, $12. Okay, so we'll remember that fluctuation. So let's look at HNT. HNT compared to USD. Let's give us the full price history. It does. So there's some volume here. Let's see here. So yeah, there's going to be some resistance here at this price of 12 and some change. And so if you're looking to purchase this, I would say do more research first, but then you try to want to see it come back down closer to this 20 EMA. Because right now this has had a very nice wick to the upside. And so not the pristine time. And you see this heading higher on the RSI. Really, so if you didn't buy here, low RSI, low in price, kind of broke its downtrend with a nice impulsive to the upside. That's interesting. But can it sustain it? And so, like we're saying, there's some resistance here. This got some tough sledding all through this area here. So let's do some tough sledding through where it's at currently. And really, so look at this, price action down here. So tough sledding through there. And really, so this cluster right here. So if we can see a break through that, but same thing, it's going to calm down because the RSI is getting pretty high. So you're probably going to want to wait if it's something that you're looking at, and it'll come back down to at least this, this $9 and some change area here, kind of retest that area. But let's see how much has it pulled back. Let's see here. So it has made a lower low here, but from here, How much does it pull back? So let's move this out the way for now. Get this VRVP out the way, and then let's see here, fib retracement. We'll go from here. Oh, kissed it. So yeah, kissed that 0.5 level. Interesting. And it just kind of broke that 0.382 on the upside. Yeah. And so, really, if you want to nibble here, it's 9 and some change, but same thing. If the rest of the market continues to stay bearish, I would venture to say that this pump wouldn't last, and you'd probably be able to come and grab this again through time around that $6-7 range. But same thing. Yeah, you might be able to nibble here about $9 and some change. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely keep my eye on this as well. Okay. And so yeah, you just kiss that 0.5, and then really there's no price history until like these wicks here. So this wick lines up with this wick here. So I say people will probably either step in here at this 0.6 because you can kind of see this cluster right here. People would really see this, but and this is a top 100, so people have this coin on their radar. People would probably step in here around, where's this at? What is that, $3 and some change? And so put a line there. And so what is the risk to reward? If you're buying now, and then same thing, where could we go from this top to this low? If that is the low for now, could take it up to, wow. So interesting. Potentially. Could see something along this. Let's see. So that's just the inverted fib retracement. Let's do a trend-based fib extension. So take it here. Do kind of, yeah, showing the same thing. That'll be the top end of the range, but probably something realistic somewhere in here. And yeah, that's through time. So let's change these to the green because these are to the upside. These ones below to red. So these are green. This is green. This is green. Cool. All right. 1 second here. Let's see if I could check the chat. Is there anybody watching this? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, hey, I have some fellow moongangers here. Let's see here. Oh, yes, sir. Good to see fellow moongangers. Of course, of course. Let's see here. Equity market dumping today. Yep. CPI report being released Friday. Thoughts? Yeah, like, I really see that things are, yeah, as of now. Oh, hold on. Let me do this. As of now, you know, the way that they're talking, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. Because we're talking about other things outside the United States. So one thing that we're seeing, China is continuing with their lockdown, and so that's really, how they talk about those bottlenecks, but it's really keeping a lot of the import export, especially coming from China into the United States, affected. So that's having a bearing on inflation. So their whole goal with these interest rate hikes is to try to get inflation down. But that's going to be harder when you have forces working against you. And so, yeah, that's going to be something interesting to see through time. Let's see here. Swerve, I'm on mobile. Which Fred graph were you showing? Yeah, so that was, let me see here. Let me see. I'm gonna try to pin it in the chat, and then y'all can keep looking at that. Da-da-da. So let me see here. That was the consumer price index for the dollar. So let me put that in the chat for y'all. Okay. Cool. But yeah, man, dollar. Not looking great, and I don't think it ever has. Solana Summer, yeah, man. Hopefully, we'll see. Solana being good to me. Bought last summer, 25. Good, good. I mean, yeah. So yeah, we got another opportunity coming here pretty soon. It looks like so. All right, cool. Let's get back to it. I'm probably going to finish this up here in another 5-10 minutes. But yeah, just wanted to come on, just say what's up to you guys and, try to continue to add some value. This is what I do on a daily basis. But now I guess I'll start giving some information to the public, because you guys are riding with the gang. I'm part of the Moon Gang too. So we all got to help each other out. So, all right, let's see here. Doo-doo-doo. As you can see, I'm working on how to use all this stuff, right? All right. All right, cool. So, yeah, that was HNT. Yeah, so I'm gonna dive deep into this one, guys, because I actually do not have this coin, and so I have like my batch of like core coins that I do have that I'm gonna ride with until the end of time. But this one's piquing my interest a little bit here. So yeah, I'll definitely keep tabs with this for sure. Have we looked at Ethereum today? I think Ethereum's looking more bearish than Bitcoin. So if we compare the two, let's see here. And then let's pull up Bitcoin on top or below. Let's put this on. What are we on? Let's go to the weekly. Put Ethereum on the weekly. All right, cool. Let's see if we can see some difference. And we'll just look at the last chunk of time, like the last year, really. Let's line it up. All right. Okay. Line it up a little bit better. So yeah, follow trend. And yeah, so if you see these candles, I mean, Ethereum, especially since mid-May, has been on a little bit more of a bender, so to speak. So a lot, like no strength here. Bitcoin has kind of rebounded. You see, we have two green candles, was kind of helping us out a little bit, but Ethereum still in this downtrend. So yeah, I mean, grabbing that sub $1,500 ETH may be a possibility. Like we haven't had that chance. I mean, since 2020, really. So below $1,500, and so that'll be a treat if we do get there. Because we all know Ethereum, its use case, what's happening, the merge, that's going to be huge. I don't think people really fully understand how important that merge is and what it's going to do. Like Ethereum is going to officially start to become deflationary, and so that means supply is getting taken out, and it's a big incentive basically for people with a lot of capital because they can natively stake that Ethereum. If they have 32 Ethereum, they can be a validator. And that's a predictable way to continue to get this nice passive income, but continue to stack your Ethereum. And so like that's going to be interesting for a lot of these bigger players here. And nonetheless, when they stake it, they're not moving it, price go up. So it's a net positive really for everybody in the ecosystem. So being able to grab this Ethereum, good op. Good op. Okay. So yeah, Ethereum looking a little weak. Red. So that's interesting because you know how they talked about Bitcoin having 8 weeks of red. Ethereum's on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we might close 10. Right, we got 3 more days, but if we close above or if we close below like 1800, we'll have 10 weeks in a row straight red. So the question is, like, for these downtrends, let's take a look. And so this looks like it could be a parallel channel because that looks like it lines up pretty dang well. And to an extent, it is. And so, yeah, we'll continue to watch this. And notifications of strength is when we get above this median line here, step one, and then back above that 20 EMA, which will be step two, and then breaking out of this channel. That's like step three to say, hey, we're back in like somewhat of a bullish scenario, and we're going to sustain it. Until then, we can get to the top of this channel, but as we can see, been knocked off the top, knocked off the top. We can get back to the top again, just get knocked back down, through time, but we're really going to break this to say, hey, we're back in a trend to the upside. Same way. So like if COVID, like this is a deviation, COVID really messed things up. But as you can see, this is in a similar channel. So check that out. This is a tighter channel. Same thing here. Came to the top, bottom, then broke out, and at the same time broke outside of the on top of the 20 EMA. Now COVID jacked things up, but once again, once it got back on top of that 20 EMA, it used it and bounced off of it as support in that bull run. And that's because, the Fed, they injected a lot of money into the market at this time. And so, obviously they're tightening. So that's why this looks different than this. It's very simple. I think a lot of people are like wondering, well, why does price do what it does? It's just less money in the market being spent in buying things. It's simple. But yeah, and then so with these ebbs and flows, just learn to roll with the punches and get stuff at a great value. And so downtrend. This was more of like a sideways, but this is early on in its life cycle. So obviously it's going to be pretty bullish, pretty expansive to the upside. Same thing. These downtrends, they work very similarly, same thing here. Kind of draw that trend. And this one isn't as clear. Take it to the upside, but these channels are relevant. So kind of pull that down. What do you see? Little deviation here, but touch point, and then broke out of it. And then that's when you knew, okay, cool. Because same thing here, if you're using these channels to help you out to confirm a bull trend, and same thing, we could pop on the 8-day SMA too to look at like a little tighter moving average. So, or we can use the 9-day. But same thing here, like you look for that confirmation of saying, okay, we're in this channel. Now, do we break out of the channel? Okay, yes. Great. Are we on top of this 8-day? But we're really not convinced really until we start attacking and then we break this, right? We break this 20-day SMA or EMA, use that support, and then, that's how you know. But as we know with Elliott Wave principle, right? That's a 1 down to 2. But still, same thing. This is like the safer, like if you are not up for the volatility, get in at a safer point to where there's still upside. And so if you were an investor at that point in time, you still had a lot of good gains on the table, a little double. But as we all know, we're in for the long haul. And so same thing here. You get back above this 20 EMA and you're riding on top of this 9-day SMA as well. You're bouncing off of it. Yeah, like you should feel pretty decent after you've seen a couple of weeks. So mainly like 4, like a good month or 2 of green candles. And these are larger green candles, right? So they're not like the small ones here where there's indecision in the market. This is a clear pattern to the upside. And then we use these moving averages to say, hey, we broke out of a downtrend, we're in an uptrend, and then we're bouncing on top of our moving averages to keep us going. And so it's a clear way to see the difference between an uptrend versus a downtrend. Same thing, downtrend, we are getting knocked down. And then so we're going to get knocked down. We may deviate past them a little bit, but through time, we'll continue to get knocked down off the channel. And these are going to be higher resistance points for these coins. So until we have a different scenario happening, things are going to be going down. And then as you can see, we find support. So we're leveling off and tapering off. But nonetheless, no reason to get super, super excited if price is going back to, $6,000 for Ethereum anytime soon, because that stuff takes time. But yeah, so that was looking at things from a parallel channel view. I know a lot of people aren't looking at things in that way, but I've been doing this for a while and it's helped me out as far as, as I'm picking my spots to where I DCA in. So hopefully that was some value for you guys, but I got to go. Got some things to do outside of this, but hope you all are well. And then yeah, I mean, yeah, hit me up in the Telegram chat if y'all have any questions or if y'all just want to reach out. I'm here on YouTube, right? So shoot a comment. I'll definitely talk back and just have some comments on myself. We'll stay in touch. All right. Y'all be good.